वाला story फिर से बताना, but I'm going to ask you now, and this is about your father.
My father made Dharma into Dharma, and we began the journey 43 years ago. My family business was much like Dhanlakshmi Laddus, was a mithai business.
No shit, seriously?
Yeah. My father's journey and mine, like it coexists. I think I've shared this, but it's hilarious. I had started premature graying because of my dad. My dad was premature, so my mother said, today, go dye your hair. Some of my releases have also dealt with some personal losses. Universe, Papa, wherever you are, just like make sure that this film sails through.
You told me the most amazing story. I'm like, now I can't ask him कि वो वाला story फिर से बताना, but I'm going to ask you now. And this is about your father. To take us a little bit through his life. I mean, you are one of the first people in India to have watched the movie Gandhi before anybody else did. How, and take us through his life a little bit.
So my dad had worked as a producer in Hindi cinema, of course, but he had become the touch point for a lot of the Hollywood productions that used to come in to India to film. Far Pavilions, eventually later on Jungle Book that was shot in Mehboob, but also Gandhi. He was like the line producer at that time, on the Indian portions of Gandhi. My uncle at that time didn't understand the relevance or the cinematic importance of that. One fine day, I'm told that because of some permissions, we had to see the movie, and Richard Attenborough, the director of the film, Rashid Abbasi, who was my father's production support. I was very close to Richard Attenborough by then, and my father, my mother, and then I was called in to see Gandhi on the VHS before the world saw it, because whatever, and I'm sitting there now, I'm slapping myself today, I'm like, no, where are camera phones when you need them? Where is the paparazzi when you want them? Like, there was nobody there. It was in my apartment in Malabar Hill. I've seen Gandhi with Richard Attenborough in my
crazy
2x2 drawing room on VHS, awestruck by the movie. And when next day to school, I saw a film called Gandhi, and nobody had heard of it, like at that time. Who in school would have known like Gandhi? They were like, oh great, you saw a documentary, you saw that. Right. No, I saw a film called Gandhi. And there's
the greatest movies ever made.
The British actor called Ben Kingsley plays the lead part. Rohini Hattangadi is in Gandhi. And I'm like saying all this till it finally released and the world saw it. And I remember our school took us for a trip to see Gandhi. It was like, like part of our academic agenda, because we studied Gandhi so much in depth. And I was preening like a peacock because I had seen the movie, but of course I was preening alone. Nobody else was bothered. Everybody was swept by the film. But like, it's things like this that you feel you wish you had archived.
Right. So your dad got into movies how? Like, he also had a business of his own, right?
He got into movies through a really... so basically my family business was much like Dhanlakshmi Laddus, was a mithai business.
No shit, seriously?
Yeah. So my family business was Nanking Sweets.
Okay.
In Delhi. And there was a point of time like where my father was much more, he was a photographer. So my dadi, who we called Mataji, told him that you should go. This is not for you. You go, you take the train and just go to Bombay. And he had some cousin there. The first thing he did is when he landed into Bombay, there was Times of India opposite VT. Yeah. He went into Times of India, met a gentleman called Mr. Dubey, and became an intern to his photography, which took him to the sets of Mughal-e-Azam and other things.
Wow.
And from there he became like a ground manager. Then he worked himself up to being a production manager, to finally production controller, to working for Navketan Films for over 12 years, to being the only rare person who got front credit for production controller. Everybody in the industry knew him. He was very popular, he was very loved, and he was very good at what he did. So Dev Saab, Vijay Anand, Raj Kapoor, K. Asif, like Sunil Dutt, everybody had worked with him. Every single person had worked with him, until he took a sabbatical and he started an import-export business and called Yashwan Exports.
Okay.
And then after that,
exporting what?
We were middle agents to like wrought iron stuff that was used to go to a place called Peer Imports in Paris and New York, and it used to be from Faridabad and Saharanpur, and it was like a stable income because he felt like movie making is got it. And Ramesh Behel at that time, the owner of Rose Movies, Nanu's father, Shrishti and Goldie's father, he pushed my father back and he said, this is in your core, you have to make a film. And that's how he met Salim Javed, and they had a script of Dostana. Amit uncle and my mom, ironically, went to school together. He was in Sherwood and she was in the sister school, St. Mary's. So they'd known each other from then. And it all came together as a film, and Dostana happened, and it was funded at that time by the Hinduja family.
Right. You said that's how it's called, Dharma Productions.
It's from Dharam Hinduja.
Dharam Hinduja, right.
God bless his soul, he's no more, but it's named after SP Hinduja's son, Dharam Hinduja. And my father made Dharam into Dharma. And we began the journey 43 years ago.
Wow. So, I mean, in that sense, this is coming from your life, right? Nanking Sweets,
Yeah.
Dhanlakshmi.
Yes.
Then there is a person who's in the family business, but you know what? He has a creative bent, which is what your father was. It's all coming together,
A
Karan.
lot of it actually is embedded within my father's journey and mine. Like it coexists. I mean, this idea of Dhanlakshmi came from the fact that I was used to our family being in the mithai business.
Yeah.
Of course, today with like the bigger mithai conglomerates, it's a lot more of a business for so many big, huge brands in the country. In those days, it was like a mom and pop one shop. You know, you went to Nanking Sweets and bought what you had to. And I remember there used to be these pinnies that used to.
Is it still
come.
there? Is the
No.
Okay. Right.
Ceases to exist. Why it was called Nanking also don't ask me. I have no clue.
The Chinese name almost.
Yeah,
right?
weirdly. It's called Nanking. Nanking used to be a Chinese restaurant in most cities.
Yeah.
Every city had a Nanking.
Yeah.
But we had Nanking Sweets. It's like my father used to literally be one of the most religious, not religious, but he was very like, he had his own prayer. And he also always told me, he said, don't pray for success. Because if you pray for success, that is not going to. He said, pray for stability. Pray for happiness in your organization. Just pray that people that you work with are happy working for you. Don't get into that. But he used to get very upset when I was doing all these crazy things in between. Reading, going to psychics and going. I still believe in a lot of that. I still believe in astrology because I believe it's a science. I still have one person who is guiding me. But I don't do it to the detriment of a circumstance.
So you would add an extra I to key in Rocky Rani because it's coming from somewhere.
And I'll stay away from the number 8, which I believe is not lucky for me. Some of my releases have also dealt with some personal losses. Kal Ho Na Ho, when it released, my father was in chemotherapy. When Student of the Year released, Yash uncle passed away that weekend.
Same weekend?
Yes, the same weekend of release. It's been a weirdly tough time during my directorial releases, the nervousness of a release. This time I had made this big ball of anxiety in my head and heart, and I was like, I used to literally breathe and I'm like, oh dear Lord, universe, Papa, wherever you are, just like make sure that this film sails through. I don't know what the hell it's going to be. It's actually on the screening that you saw. My father, when I went up, I woke my parents up, and I was like, like, hello, like our film is a big hit. So my mother was like, means what? Because we'd not heard this. So I was like, my father had films that had failed prior to this. Right before that, 6 months before this was Duplicate. Before that was Gumrah, which was...
Oh, Duplicate was not a hit?
No, it was a big flop, yeah. Agnipath, Gumrah, all of these had been... Agnipath was acclaimed, but not a commercial success at all. We hadn't seen success, in so long. Went straight, my father then took the same coins and started calling the CPCI, Rajasthan, distributor, and it was just and there were just 3 of us, right? Mum, dad and me, and just our own little party. And then my mum came around, I think, because she realized that this was emotional for us, And the strangest thing happened on that day. My mother told me, and I don't think I've shared this, but it's hilarious. I had started premature graying because of my dad. My dad was premature. So my mother said, today, go dye your hair. That was her emotional reaction to my film being a blockbuster. So I didn't know when you go color your hair, you think your hair is black, right? So you go there, they said what color, and I said black. I came back looking like mad. Because you're supposed to go light brown or medium brown on your color. Black meaning I came home and my parents were looking at me I looked mad.
Like you're wearing a toupee or a wig
I
or something.
Looked like it was jet black, the color of night on my head. And I'm like, she said, what did you say to the colorist? I said, black. Isn't my hair black? She says, no, it's light brown, medium brown. You don't say black. There are stages. I'm like, no, I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what to do because there's no redemption from black, right? You have to wait for the black to fade. Right. And then, so I was walking around with a cap, right? right through this, and it was just mad that I looked so crazy for about 25 days after, because it took a really long time for that. I couldn't even go to a restaurant normally because I felt like, not because they knew me,
Right.
but there was a strange person with very dark hair, and I'm like,
So basically, if you go back to 25 years ago, locating your pictures from right after Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, you're wearing a cap
yes.
for the first 25 days anyway.
Well, I wasn't photographed at all, so there's no archival evidence of this. But I know that was a big mistake. I didn't know better, yaar. I had never colored my hair. I was 25 years old.
Right.
I was like black.
Right.
Mere baal kale hain. So they were like, and I remember this colorist asking me, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, what a stupid question to ask." Yeah, I'm sure. I'm going to color my hair black because I have so many grey hair.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.